Clutch time's always been winning time for the Nikola Jokic's Nuggets, but this season it hasn't been. I'll tell you the secrets of why it's been a problem, especially versus the Magic, coming up on Locked On Nuggets.
You are Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to Locked On Nuggets, your daily Denver Nuggets podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Thanks for joining us and making us part of your day. Being an everydayer, part of our Everydayers Club, making us your first listen. We do appreciate you guys being with us Monday through Friday. And then on the weekends, like here on a Sunday morning, we do appreciate you guys being with us. My name is Matt Moore. I've been a credentialed NBA writer for the Denver Nuggets, cover the Denver Nuggets for 14 seasons. I have written for CBS Sports. I've written for the Action Network. I've written for AOL Fan House. I've written for NBC Sports. I currently write for the Action Network. I write for the Denver Dig. I write for Hardwood Paroxysm and Fansided. You can catch me on Locked On NBA daily, Monday through Friday. On today's show, we're going to talk about the loss versus the Magic. Housekeeping. Recording this on a Sunday morning. I was going to do a show on Saturday night, and then I came down with basically a migraine and was just like not able to go. And I already told the guys that I was going to do it, so I didn't want to ask them to do it for me. So I was like, I'll just get it in the morning. So I'm doing it here Sunday afternoon. We will still have No Jinx on Sunday night at 10:30 Mountain Time, live on youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets and in your podcast feeds. This is kind of a bonus episode to kind of talk about that loss to the Magic. We'll talk about the game versus the Magic is what we're going to kind of talk about, especially the clutch time stuff and the bench stuff. Let's start here. This was a game the Nuggets should have won. Adelman said so after the game. He kind of pointed to this one and the Blazers game as two games that he thinks that they should have won. I think the identity there, the common thread is actually that's him criticizing the officiating without criticizing the officiating, because both these games were kind of decided. Desmond Bane call late. I don't know how I feel about. I've watched it a bunch of times. I don't know how I feel about the Desmond Bane call, where I think, defenders up on him, and then he moves the ball to the other side through the guy and falls, and it's clear that he's like tripping on his own feet. There is contact, and I think that this is one of the risks of having physical, where it's like if the defender is able to, or if the ball handler is able to move the ball through you, I have a hard time saying that's like not a foul, right? Like, does the contact cause the trip? Probably not, right? I don't have a huge amount of problems with it. I think it's annoying, but I also don't know like what else you would call that. Like, I don't know what else you would call that situation. And it should have been that situation anyway. Like, the Nuggets should have won this game, not going away, but they had a 15-point lead in the third quarter, and the stagger minutes of Jokic without the starters gives up a 17-7 run from 8:34 to 5:45 of that third quarter. Now they bounce back and they have a 10-4 run to close the quarter. It should have been okay. And we'll talk about like the reality of that in a second, because that's honestly the biggest part here is the non-Jokic minutes. Like, it wasn't Jokic's fault in this game. I do think the officiating, I understand why it was frustrating, but also just like they should have won this game. Like, they should have just won this game. And the clutch time stuff is it has been a problem this year. I think so. Like Cody says, 5-8 in clutch games isn't good. Let's start there, and then I'll go to the thing, and we'll get to the 4-guard lineups. Jonestown's. I know everyone's really mad at the 4-guard lineups. So, in the comments as you're watching at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets, and if you're listening on the podcast, you can go back and watch the comments. Give me the 4-guard lineup that you want to see and find out how it has done. Like, tell me what the 4 guards are with JV that you think are the problems, because like there's the Nuggets are kind of guard heavy, so I need to know which ones are the ones that you think are really the problem. The clutch time stuff I think is pretty difficult. Okay, the Minnesota Timberwolves were absolutely wretched in clutch time last year, and they made the Western Conference Finals. And what I can tell you is there's a debate amongst analysts, both from a statistical standpoint and like feel for the game, of whether or not clutch is a thing. And where I kind of come down to it is you can be especially bad in clutch time, but you're worse than 5-8 if you don't have composure, if you get rushed, if you look like you don't know what you're doing, if you can't execute. Like the Houston Rockets have, I think, an actual clutch problem because they can't get the ball to KD in the clutch. Like they have real problems with getting that. The Nuggets do have a problem because they did have multiple turnovers trying to get Jokic the ball late and in that fourth quarter. And I talked about this a little bit early in the season. They still have this problem where if the defense is loading up to stop him in the post and they want to run post-ups, the game grinds down. Because if you have perimeter pressure on Jamal's like, it's not reasonable to be like, we'll just beat it, Jamal. Like he can beat it, but he's going to be able to get downhill. You can't ask him to be like, hey, beat that pressure, Jamal, and also make a perfect entry pass to Nikola on the run while he's being fronted. Like that's not reasonable, right? And so what you need is like you actually need less dependency, or Jokic is going to have to bring the ball up and set in the high post. Now I think that was one of my problems is like they kept going low in this game, and I'm just like, guys, like they're gonna angle for that steal every single time because they have the weak side recovery. Like if De Silva is the one fronting him or reaching around, like they trust WCJ to be able to make that rotation on the backside to be able to contest at the rim. Like they will challenge it. And like Jokic just missed some shots. Like Jokic missed like a turnaround bunny he makes in his sleep most of the time. So those are kind of the situations I think where a lot of this is variance, and you can just be like, look, if Jokic makes most of the shots that he usually does, then they're fine. And that's true. If Jamal makes a lot of shots that he's made this season, they're fine. Like Perez says, the two-man game is becoming predictable. My guy, it has been predictable. They know what's coming. They've scouted this. They've seen it. The two-man game is not a mechanism that's going to catch you by surprise. That's not why it's good. It's good because it forces you to make tough decisions. Now, Orlando, I think, scouted it really well to disrupt it. But in general, like the two-man game is not getting worse. It's just not. Like it's still one of the best combos in the game because of the combination of skill. There is nothing new under the sun. You're not going to throw something new at Orlando in this situation because there's no way for you to have practiced and execute enough in game to be able to do it. Now, here is a key is not having Aaron, not having Cam, and not having Christian to an extent does fundamentally change things because what you have now is you have Peyton, who knows he can't be freelancing in that type of situation. So even though he's got handle, he's not going to do it. Spencer, who's not going to drive. He's not an on-ball creator. So you don't have these weapons to be able to chat. Like those guys are there to space. Aaron, you can give the ball to, like you can run different actions with Aaron and be able to create things there. You can apply different types of pressure because of Aaron's superior, like Aaron's a better player. So I know that the clutch time stuff is frustrating, but I also think that we tend to do this thing where it's like, there's a lot of something that I really hate, which is post hoc propter ergo hoc. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. There we go. Post hoc ergo propter hoc. After, therefore, because of, right? Where it's like, oh, well, they lost in the clutch, so the problem is a two-man game. Oh, they lost in the clutch, so the problem is the spacing. Oh, they lost in the clutch, so it's this. A lot of the clutch stuff is really just, it's variance. And I know it's frustrating. It just is. It's a small sample. There are times when I can tell that a team doesn't execute well in the clutch. I don't see that from Denver. They take their time. They execute cleanly. They get into their stuff. The challenges on some of the stuff with Nikola is a problem, but that's mostly a function of who else is on the court. So, in general, I'm not too worried about the clutch time stuff. What I am worried about is the non-Jokic minutes. I'm very worried about that. That I'm worried about. We'll talk about why I'm worried about the non-Jokic minutes for the next little bit coming up on Locked On Nuggets. The season's heating up, and DoorDash is a way to keep fans in their bag the whole way through. Whether you're watching the highlights, the tunnel fits, or just your favorite player, DoorDash makes the entire season more fun. Every player has their bag. With DoorDash, fans have one too. DoorDash keeps your snacks stocked, your gear fresh, and your watch party vibes absolutely on point. There are nights when your team stresses you out. Let DoorDash become your post-game therapy. Sometimes you just need dessert now. Those late night interviews hit and suddenly you need chips at midnight. DoorDash is built for exactly that. From tip-off to overtime, stay in your bag and order on DoorDash. Get snacks, drinks, and gear wherever gets you through the season, delivered right to your door. DoorDash, in your bag all season long. We're also brought to you today by Game Time. During basketball season, there's nothing like being in the building, the energy, the crowd, that big run that gets everyone on their feet. Fans want to be there for those moments, not stuck refreshing screens or guessing what tickets are really going to cost. And that's where Game Time comes in. The Game Time app gives fans the advantage back, making it incredibly easy to score amazing tickets, fast, simple, and without the guesswork. You're probably going to have multiple Broncos home playoff games. That's pretty incredible. So you're going to want to go to those, and you're going to want to be able to catch those on Game Time. Browsing the Game Time app is straightforward and intuitive. Finding tickets takes just a few taps, and seeing the view from your seat before buying makes choosing tickets easy and confident. Whether it's an NBA game, Broncos game, Avs game, how about the Mavs? Everything is right there in one place. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNBA. That's LOCKEDONNBA for $20 off your first purchase. Download the Game Time app today and get in on the action. We'll be right back on Locked On Nuggets. Jonestown wants to know, what about the clutch defense has been bad every game? Do you think that their defense is just suddenly bad in clutch? Like, what is it about clutch time that makes their defense bad? Now, if you want to say that their defense is bad overall, we can have that conversation, but I can tell you that there were multiple drives by people getting past a certain center for layups where there was no contest, and I don't think we want to have that conversation. There's nothing that you can really point to me that says like their defense in clutch time is bad. They don't have miscommunications, which would be a function of more pressure in the situation, right? Like you have to show me what the variable is in clutch time that causes these things to be bad and not just variance. If you're like, well, they're the worst defense in clutch time. Okay. Why? Like, do you think it's that they get rattled defensively or teams amp up the aggression and that's their best pitch and therefore in the playoffs they'll lose? I think you can make that argument, but also they were the number 2 defense when they had their fully healthy complement of players. So I think that that's difficult. Like I get like 131 defensive rating in the clutch is very terrible. I agree. Like their defense is bad. I was like, it's a good thing I wasn't on after the Mavs game. I was livid with their defense in that game. And especially defense from the greatest player in the world, who then turned around and had one of the best games I've ever seen on Christmas. So it's like, I understand. I gotta just like back off. There's no choice for me, given how great he is. It's just like, if you want to talk about the defense, there is no other way to talk about it other than starting with Nikola. And if you don't want to start with Nikola, then we can't talk about the defense. We just can't. We cannot talk about it. There's no way to do it. Like that is where it starts. It's not the only problem. It's not the only problem, but it is like functionally part of it. I want to talk about the 4-guard lineup that he went with Valanciunas, and then I'll talk about the larger problem that they have with the rest of the bench minutes, because I think it's like worth talking about. I want to start by saying like Bruce has been bad this season. Like that's just been a fact. This season reminds all of us a lot of the 2023 season where they signed Bruce Brown and we're like, that's amazing. And then they got in the season and everybody was kind of like, he hasn't been great. And like Ryan in particular was like, I don't know, I'm like pretty worried. And then he was awesome in the playoffs. So I think somehow these kind of things. Jonestown says, but Black making that many threes isn't Jokic's fault. Yes, it is. 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 They get into rotation because of how they have to cover for Nikola. That's how Black opens up those threes. He did not score in pick and roll. He did not score in isolation. He scored on catch and shoot. That's a function of the total systemic defense of which Jokic is involved. So yes, that is true. Like, I'm sorry. That's it. So you guys wanted to look at JV, Julian, Bruce, and then there was one more. I think it was it Pickett or Murray that you guys wanted to look at? Let's just look at it this way. JV, Julian, and Bruce Brown have only played 48 minutes together, and they are minus 18.6, which is bad. JV and Bruce are plus 2.1. Strother and Brown in 31 minutes are actually plus 16, probably most of those with Yoke. And JV and Strother have only played 6 minutes together without Bruce. So that combo is like really terrible. That combo is really terrible. Tony says blaming Jokic for the defense when opposing guards go right past our perimeter defenders is wild. So again, this is a function of how the Nuggets defense works. If they run pick and roll, that is not going by the perimeter defender, which is the Nuggets' biggest problem. They're actually fine in isolation. Their biggest problem defensively is pick and roll. That's been their problem, is pick and roll defense. You cannot expect a defender, any KCP, anybody, to get over the screen and completely shut down that perimeter penetration. Then you're in rotation, right? So you're closing out. The way the Nuggets defense is schemed, they do not close out to stop the perimeter penetration. They close out to funnel it. They are taking away options. And as part of that, it is, and this is pretty standard in NBA, is they are driving you into help. That's what they want to do. Is you want to drive guys into help. Make them take a contested on the run mid-range shot. That's like what the gear is. Guess who the sport person is for that? It's the center. Like, it's not like our perimeter players can't keep opposing guards in front of them. I am telling you, that is not accurate. That's not where, or at least you might be right. That's not where they're getting killed. Like, they're not getting killed there. They are not getting annihilated in isolation. The 4-guard lineups are terrible, and they don't need to go. This is mostly a product of, like, I don't know why Zeke didn't play last night. Can you count on Zeke? Do you feel like it's like, is it a good thing? Would it have been okay if it was Zeke? I don't think so. Like, I just don't know that there's like a good answer here. This is really what I was worried about. The minute the Cam went down, the JV minutes were what I was worried about. He was minus 17 last night. This was a old school Jokic and the starters dominate, the bench loses the game. Because even though they allowed the run in the third quarter and they fell apart in the clutch, the overall numbers for Jokic, like they were so good in Jokic's minutes that it was totally fine. The problem is Cam Johnson and Jonas Valanciunas were absolutely awesome together this season. And if you want to know, like, why, the answer is because Cam and Jonas, like, have been on enough NBA teams. They can just run simple stuff together, or as like Cam spacing, or Jonas helping out on the other side, or helping out with the offensive rebounds. Like, those two makes, like, they understand how to play together. And those minutes have been absolutely terrific this season. Cam and Jonas together are plus 15.8. Jonas without Cam Johnson on the floor on total this season is minus 8.5. This stretch without Cam Johnson is going to be tough. And I do not expect it to get better when Aaron and CB return, because Aaron doesn't stagger. And Christian honestly doesn't stagger much either. Like, I'm not expecting that to improve dramatically, nor do I necessarily love the combo of Christian and JV. Although I will say, like, it played 12 minutes together and was killer. We haven't seen that enough. When Christian gets back, Christian might take that role of Cam Johnson and might make things easier for JV. But until they get Christian or Cam back, the non-Jokic minutes are going to be rough, because the other guys cannot supplement Jonas well enough. And that's a really difficult kind of situation. That's really going to kind of be that was the reason they lost this game, was like, this was a game where they lost because Cam Johnson got hurt, because Cam Johnson helps those bench minutes so much. He's better with the bench than he is with the starters. And there's a lot of reasons for that I think have to do with like team dynamics and chemistry and the amount of pressure I think that Cam's putting on himself. But that's just like a fact. They've been way better on the bench with JV and Cam than without Cam with JV. So, all right, let's talk about the Deron Holmes thing, because I do think I've said this, they need another power forward. There's a lot of questions about why Deron's not playing. And I've tried to explain it before. I can explain why, but you need to not confuse explaining it with justifying it, because I think he should probably be getting minutes. Like, I think they should be evaluating what they've got. Like, they need to at least, because I think it's probably a thing where Deron comes in and has like 8 points and 8 rebounds, and then he has like a 12-6 game, and then like he has like a double-double. I think Deron's gonna be really good in just like the box score production stuff, and that does matter. Like, it really does matter. If you just give that production stuff off the bench, it's going to boost them. Like, it just makes up a differential. I think he should play, but the reason he's not is not that like the staff is terrible and doesn't know how to like it is a collective determination that he's not ready for those type of minutes, and he's going through the process of playing in the G League. Spencer played in the G League last year. Like, he's going through playing in the G League and getting his minutes and getting his conditioning back up from the injury and getting his understanding of the concepts down, because they're using the same terminology down there. And the idea is to lessen mistakes, because players of Duran's type that came out as a rookie and then lost the entire year, their biggest problem is they're mistake prone, and the Nuggets can't really afford mistake minutes off the bench. They just can't. Like, it will get dramatically worse. And if you're like, can it be worse than Zeke? That I don't know. Like, that I really don't know. I agree that he needs run. I am telling you why he's not getting it. It is not about like that they don't believe in him or they think that Zeke is good. Like, it is not any of those type of things. There's a very big part of this, which is you need to make sure that coming off of the injury, Duran maintains his confidence, because injuries really, really hurt athletes' confidence. Like, it is hard to get back your confidence in your body when you get back. And making sure not to throw him into the deep end and have it be like a disaster, which could set him back, is important. Now, there's a certain point where it's like, all right, but like, you're a professional athlete, you get paid to play. Let's see what he's got. Jones says, why did we see Curtis Jones in a game before him? And the answer is because Curtis is further along in his development. Like, that's the assessment that they've made. A lot of this has to go into also like what you see on the backs. Like, most of this is like behind the scenes stuff. And on a certain level, you have to decide whether you trust them or not. And that's okay. Like, if you don't, you're right as a fan to be like, I do not trust them. They do not know how to evaluate talent. That's why this team is on pace for one of the best franchise records in franchise history. That's fine. You can do that. You can do that. You can absolutely do that. Sun Valley says, if he doesn't get minutes of the team, he won't get better. We've seen this movie before with Malone. No, you haven't. Malone played young players. This is a myth. That did not happen. They have developed talent. Christian Brown, Spencer Jones, all of these, like, they have developed talent. This is not accurate. Also, yes, but also if you let them play just to like throw them out there, it can, if it goes badly, you can hurt the player. If it goes really badly, you can hurt the team. And then that causes the team to be like, veterans are very picky about young guys. Like, they are picky about these things. So just going to do that. All right. I think this wasn't that terrible of a loss. The Magic played pretty well in this game. They did get that huge game from Black. I don't think it was absolutely awful. And they're going to get Christian back. We kind of expect it sometime over the next week is what the media room kind of thinks, is that over the next week, we're probably going to get Christian Brown back. It may be longer if Christian has a setback or just isn't quite ready, but Christian's been out doing pregame warmups and at home. So that kind of, to me, suggests that they get like a little bit of functional, that he's close to be able to come back. AG, I do not have a time frame on. I do not know when AG is going to be back. That I wouldn't expect it to be too late after him, but I think that there's probably like a lot of there's a reason to think that Christian will be back in the next 10 days and AG will be back very soon after that. And then they're going to look pretty awesome again. Now that's an assumption, and maybe they lose a bunch of these road games, but this was a game that they honestly had won, and then the bench had an extremely terrible stretch, and that's an issue. Now, the defense is concerning. I'm not concerning. Talk about this. It's difficult because it's just like the only thing stopping this team from being on a Thunder pace, the only thing stopping them is their defense. That's the only thing stopping them. It's health and their defense. And those two things are related because the defense is what was way better with Aaron and CB. And like, I personally don't know how to like evaluate them from this perspective, because again, defensively, there are certain things that I see very clearly as being like choices that are made by players to not challenge certain shots. And so they just get like layups. And that's an issue, right? They give up a lot of corner threes. That's by design. And they are getting better, I think, at those rotations, fully healthy. One of the things I think has been frustrating for me is that Spencer is playing such great defense. Spencer really is. Like, he's been terrific. He's not just physical. He's not just like this fouling. Like, he picks up a lot of fouls because he doesn't know all the tricks that guys use, but he gets better the more he guards them. And it's not just hustle. Spencer's a legitimately impactful defensive player. Like, Spencer Jones has been phenomenal. And yet their defense has still been this bad. And it makes me optimistic about when they get AG and CB back, because AG and CB just know how to run scheme better. They'll cover a lot better for them. But I do think there are fundamental problems with the defense that are not going to get solved in the regular season. I'm also just not really worried about it over the aggregate of the regular season. They've lost a bunch of annoying games. And it is kind of like, I don't blame you for being frustrated because you were so close to being an absolute elite team. Like, the Nuggets are so close record-wise to being an elite team. Like, they are an elite team by every other indication. The record is still really good. Like, that's what they would say, is they would be like, we are 22-9. Like, it is late December. It's about to be the calendar turn, and we have under double-digit losses. We have single-digit losses. They're tied with the Knicks for the best record, or in record. They are tied with they're one game back of San Antonio, right? They're 4 games back of OKC. They were 3 yesterday. They were like within shouting distance. So I just think that there's kind of these indications of how good they are, but they do continue to. The Mavs game was a way more frustrating loss than this one, even though I think the Magic without Franz Wagner and Jalen Suggs are not good. Like, they are not good, but they got a really great performance from Anthony Black thanks to the defense. They do keep giving these games up, though, and that's going to cost them the opportunity. That may mean they have to go on the road for a game 7 in the second round, which may mean they have to, even if they advance, they're going to be exhausted if they face OKC in the conference finals. Like, these are the games that cost you long term because it's just like chips away. They got to shore this stuff up over the back half of the season. That's the big thing here, is they don't need to necessarily get that much better. They just got to focus and sharpen up a little bit. And a lot of this is energy. Like, it's just they're trying to manage their energy for the regular season. So I think that's a lot of it. Looking at Black as point guard, 38 points, Murray 24 is a very bad way to look at it. Like, that's not so. As a comparison here, okay, Anthony Black had 6 possessions yesterday as pick and roll ball handler, scoring. That's it. 6. He had 6 possessions. Now he scored 2.067 points on those possessions because he was just a flamethrower. But looking at that and being like, they are the same is incorrect. Like, that is not how that happened. Anthony Black had 6 of those possessions. Instead, if we go to like how in isolation, he had 6 and he only scored 0.833 points per possession. He wasn't efficient in ISO. They did a totally fine job on him in isolation. That wasn't the problem. It's important that you kind of keep in mind where the damage was done. He had 8 possessions at a spot up at 2.125 points per possession. It's spot up plays. That's it. Like, it is, if you want to improve the stuff defensively, what you have to have is better team defense, not one player, team defense on penetration plays, which allow the wings to recover and make their rotations better. Because that's a lot of this. There's overhelp. Overhelp as a lack of trust is what kills you on spot up plays. That's where you got to get better at. It was a tough one for this in this game. I think this was a really just like a brutal game. Yoke in this one, because I haven't said the stats, 34, 21, and 12. Another incredible game for Nikola Jokic, plus 16. I can talk about all this stuff with the Yoke's defense, because if you want to talk about the defense, that's where it goes. But it also doesn't matter because he's plus 16. They're winning the minutes. Doesn't matter. Yoke's doing enough. Like, he could play this way on defense and they're still going to kill teams because he's so good offensively. The problem really was just the bench minutes. That was the problem. Julian Strawther had 13 points off the bench and was still a minus 13. That's a problem. Bruce Brown had only 2 points, was a minus 7. Spencer Jones had 14 points, was a plus 8. Like, all the starters played well, but they are really in need of a power forward off the bench that can make a defensive impact. And I don't know if Deron Holmes can be that guy, but he might be helpful just from an offensive rebounding standpoint. So, all right. That's going to do it for Locked On Nuggets. Appreciate you guys being with us. We'll be back up tonight for No Jinx. You can catch us on at 10:30 Mountain Time at youtube.com/LockedOnNuggets in your feed overnight if you're listening to this on podcast. We appreciate you guys being with us. Hope you guys have a great Sunday. We'll see you guys again next time on Locked On Nuggets.